Hey traders, Luke from Breakout Trading here. All right, very interesting day. It was kind of cool. We called the text alert. Sent out a text alert 4 minutes before we had this rocket candle where stock must have went up what at least 25, 30% on that candle. But we're also going to go over the five finger strategy and how I was able to find this stock. Might as well pull it up now. Um, and that stock is CHMA. How I was able to find and pick this stock and call the text alert. The text alert was called around here. And that's very interesting when you think about it. It was called 4 minutes before we had this big spike right here. And this was just in our face. If you understand the five finger strategy and use it to your advantage, you'll almost never lose. The only way you'll lose is if you enter in past the gap, past the gap. And when I say that is, okay, it clearly took off right here, and let's say you decide to enter at 925. You're entering past the gap. You don't chase the gap. You want to get in before. So let's go over the five finger strategy. My daily recap is very simple anyway. I could go over that in 2 seconds. Traded Beyond Meat. It was a simple trade. I was in it for literally 3 minutes. It just popped at the gate, and I got in it. And this could have been more luck than anything, but I kind of jumped on this trend at the beginning here, and then got out, and it was a nice trade. 750 on the day, and that's in this account, and then the other account I'm sort of flat right now. Um, but anyway, long story short, the other account I'll show you. That way I could be transparent. Let's see. I'm down around 30. But you could see that on CHMA I was positive on that stock, and I'm going to show you why. CHMA could have been seen 10 miles ahead. All right, so I got a little presentation here. Yeah, that's me. I hope this is showing the right screen. Yeah, it is. Okay. So I'm going to put that display, swap, boom. All right, five finger strategy review on CHMA. Yeah, it was up 60%, I believe, at the top of its gap today. I was up 730 today, and that's kind of two separate things. I'm actually being lazy. I'm trying to put two things in one: the daily recap and the text alerts today. But all right, so yeah, and let me pull that up just real quick. Let me see if I can bring it over. As you can see, the text alerts are right here. I said to buy CHMA at 775, target 850, and that was at 940. Right, so that's about $1.25 gain right there. I'm sorry, 75 cents gain. Um, anyway, that was at 41, 941. So let me just zoom back out for a second, and let's go back to the charts here. This 941 is right here. So that's literally what I was talking about. It was like the perfect call, and I'm going to show you how I found it. Take a look. Let's start the presentation here. Five finger strategy. All right, boom. Slide one, slide two. This is the five finger strategy. One, you want it to be up more than 15% in the pre-market. And by the way, everything here is pre-market driven. This is all pre-market. I don't care if you notice this stuff in the middle of the day. This has to be pre-market, pre-market, pre-market. So anything I'm referring to is active in the pre-market. So it's up more than 15% in the pre-market. It's between 90 cents and $12 again in the pre-market. The float has to be less than 20 million. Now, this might confuse you. You might be like, well, what is float? What is float? What is float? Float is something you definitely have to learn if you want to become a day trader. And I'm going to give you the simplest explanation. Now, I know if you're with breakout trading, you're probably using Thinkorswim for technical analysis. Okay, so here's Thinkorswim. Let's say you want to find the float on CHMH. Technically, you can't on CHMH. I mean on Thinkorswim, but you can always look up the shares, and the shares will give you the closest indicator you can get to volume. I mean to the float. So you can see that the shares here are 31 million. So that usually means that the float is about half that. To actually look up the actual float, it's pretty simple. Um, how I do it is there's two ways. You can go on finviz.com and look up the float, or I use Trade Ideas personally. And it tells me right here that the float is 24 million. Okay. So the float's more on the high side. Okay. Typically I like my float below 20 million, but 40 million to and below is what we're aiming at here. And actually, it should say that the five finger strategy, any group OG will tell you, is 40 million and less. I just didn't put it on the slide by accident because you're really looking for 20 million or less, but you can take 40 million or less on the float. And all float stands for is the amount of shares available to trade. So CHMA's got a 24 million share float. Let's go back. Okay. I'm just going to blow it up here real quick. And again, really, it's 40 million is what it should be. But float less than 40 million, 20 million is preferred. So remember that. Because sometimes the reason I have it that way, and I know it's complicated, um, is sometimes, obviously less than 20 million is preferred, but if you see something and it has 21 million, don't discount it. So that's why I put the 40 million in there. So it really is 40 million or less, but 20 million or less is preferred on the float. All right, the volume has to be at least 10% of the float in the pre-market. Don't forget, this is pre-market. So I can tell you that I remember right now the volume is 14 million. So it's creeping up to be exactly the float. But I remember off the top of my head that the volume was about 2 million, which is about 10% of the float, and that was in the pre-market. Now you want the stock to be up on news or earnings. So let's take a look at that. What was the news or earnings on this? I like to go to Thinkorswim, hit news. Okay, something's going on with phase three top line results. That sounds good. Phase three? Phase three is always the best. It's better than phase two. It's better than phase one because phase three is the final phase when it comes to the FDA. So everything looks good. It's on phase three top line results. It's got pretty decent news. Um, it's got a 58% response opposed to a 19% response of people that use placebos. It's just got really good news. It's very upbeat, and that's great. So keep that in mind. It meets every criteria of the five finger strategy, right? It's up more than 15% in the pre market, which it was. It's between 90 cents and $12, which it was. The float is less than 40 million, just shy of 20 million, which it is. And the volume was just around 10% of the float. And it's up on great news. So those are the five finger strategies. Now, can you say, hey, it meets the five finger strategy? That means I'm automatically going to jump into it? I like to see at least one kicker. One kicker, okay? And that's going to go to the next slide here. The kickers. All right, so here's the kickers. If you find a stock and it meets the five finger strategy, I want you to check the NASDAQ most advanced list and see if it's on the NASDAQ most advanced list. Now, of course, if the stock is traded on the New York Stock Exchange, it's not going to be on the NASDAQ most advanced list. Although technically it could at night if you're looking in after hours because they do have the New York Stock Exchange and the American Stock Exchange up on the NASDAQ website for most advanced in the after hours, but not in the pre market. Anyway, second kicker, it's got to have big news. Either an M&A, a merger and acquisition, phase 3, FDA clinical trial approvals, anything to put it in the spotlight. I'm talking big news. Sometimes you get stocks and they get pumped up on little news like, oh, made a $250,000 deal. Whoop-de-doo. But big news is stuff like phase 3 and clinical breakthrough on phase 3 and mergers and acquisitions or a $50 million deal and stuff like that will change the company's is considered a kicker. And the final kicker is technicals. So if the stock is meeting all the five finger strategies, maybe it's even on the Nasdaq's most advanced list, and it's got really good news. Technicals come in to play next. So is it at a pivotal point? Is it near the pivotal point, near the P? Is it near the R1? Is it near the R2? Is it near the 52-week high? Did it break the 52-week high in the pre-market? Remember, this is all stuff in the pre-market that we're looking at. And again, any technical formation, is it at a cup and handle? Does it look like a cup and handle? Is it an ascending wedge? Has it been staying above the VWAP the entire pre-market? Any kind of technicals is considered a kicker. Okay. So today's stock obviously had everything. It gave us everything. We had our five finger strategy. It gave us all five fingers. Then on top of that, it gave us all three kickers as well. CHMA was the number one stock. It was the top stock on the Nasdaq's most advanced list. Not number 2, 3, or 4, the top stock. Because these are in order of most advanced. And look at the volume just compared to everything else. So, boom. We got the five fingers and we got one kicker. Actually, we got two kickers because why? It's got great news. Its phase 3 is going really well. 58% to 18% versus the placebo. That's huge. It's a very big deal. And then technicals, pivot points. Well, let's take a look at that. Technicals and pivot points. CHMA was right at 733 at the open. That's when I got in, actually. It was at 743, 733. And it shot up to 833 and then shot up to 920. It literally followed these pivot points like it was its job today. And I want you to keep that in mind. I want you to notice how much it followed these pivot points. Let me refresh because it's not showing the chart here. This is it before the market opened. It was right at 743. And now I'm going to refresh and the candle should be here. You see? Now you got the candle here. And you can see the stock opened at about 743, which is where I got in. I put the text alert at about 775. It shot up to 925. Keep in mind the R2 was right at 920. So this stock played the pivot points like a fiddle. Like a fiddle. It did it perfectly. I've never seen a more perfect play. I have, but for dramatic, you know, to be dramatic, I'm basically saying I've never seen a more perfect example of a stock following the five finger strategy. I mean, it literally started at the P, shot up to the R1, broke the R1, hit the R2, came back down, and on top of that, it broke its 52-week high. Gold. That is gold. That is gold. These don't come around every day. These kind of stocks don't come around every day. So that's the thing. That's something you have to understand is that they just flat out don't come around every day. Maybe you'll see a stock that meets the criteria perfectly, as this one did 3 times a week. If you're really vigilant, you'll probably catch it twice a week. But 2 or 3 times a week, you will find stocks that meet the criteria and have three kickers. Usually, you'll find one or two a day that have the five finger strategy, of course, that fit the profile here. But to fit the profile and have the kickers, that's why I got the guy winking, you know. But that's basically it, guys. And I got my big face in the way, can't see. But that's basically the secret there to the five finger strategy. Everything will come into play. Let me see if you have any questions, because I know I can answer questions because I am doing this live. Chat disconnected, successfully reconnected. All right, well, that's it, guys. If you have any questions, let me know. You can ask me now, ask me later. I'm going to post this on my Facebook page. If you're not in breakout trading, you have the chance to join today for $40. We do text alerts, we trade live together, and I put my money where my mouth is. I don't just trade out text alerts that I wouldn't trade myself. I literally trade everything I literally text out everything that I would trade myself and do trade myself. Um, you know, I'm not gonna bombard you with a million different text alerts of possible places you can enter, because that's not healthy. That just means I'm throwing whatever I think might stick to the wall at you, and that's not how I do it. I'm very, very, as you can see, I try to be as precise as I can. I want all five fingers met, and I want three kickers. Now I hear myself in the background. But anyway, guys, enjoy the rest of your day. Hit me up with any questions. This is Luke from Breakout Trading. Link to my page on Facebook is below. I am out.